So what are the key issues with this example? So what kind of problems do we have? We need to worry about things like denominators being 0. So the things that I can see here is the following. Root x can't be 0, first of all, because I'll be dividing through by 0. Next, I see 3 different functions which have to be dealt with carefully. The next thing is root x must be defined. So root x must be defined. Okay, it's a square root. You can't just take any value of x. X has to be greater than or equal to 0 for root x to be defined. And we couldn't have 0 here because we're dividing through by 0. 3, well, logarithm's the same. Log to the base 4x. It's not a free-for-all. It's got to be defined too. And finally, 4, arcsine is exactly the same. You can't just feed anything into it. It's got a pretty restricted domain. You need these 4 things to happen. So these are the 4 key issues in this problem. So you really want to, when you look at a complicated expression, you've got to kind of go through it and list out, okay, what are the issues going on? This one's not so brutal because we don't have any composites here, not really. So we don't need to worry about composites, but each of these individual pieces would have to work. So we don't need to calculate the domain, but I'll maybe just do it really quickly. To get everything to work, this you'd have to be in the interval 0 to infinity. This you've got to be the interval 0 to infinity, not inclusive of 0. And this you've got to be in the closed interval -1 to 1. So in this case, you've got to have all 4 of these guys happening, and this, I suppose, x can't be equal to 0. So to get all of these happening together, because you've got to get them all happening, every piece must make sense. X must be, so the domain is all of these happening simultaneously. What does that mean? It has to be, so the domain is going to be equal to, not inclusive of 0, it's got to be positive, up to 1, closed interval 1. So I'm doing that pretty quickly, but the basic idea is all of these have to happen, otherwise there's a problem.